There are some movies that are considered classics because they're important. There are other movies that are considered classics because they're influential. And then there are films like Singing in the Rain, a film that is considered a classic because it's just plain delightful. More than 70 years after its release, audiences still laugh at the jokes, still remember the songs, and still marvel at the dancing. It's one of those rare films that feels timeless, no matter how many decades pass. Today we are taking a look at why Singing in the Rain remains to be one of the greatest movie musicals ever made. Set during Hollywood's transition from silent films to talking pictures, the story follows movie star Don Lockwood, played by Gene Kelly. Don's career is thriving until the invention of sound turns the film industry upside down. The biggest problem. His co-star Lena Lamont, played by Jean Hagen, looks glamorous but has a voice that sounds absolutely ridiculous for romantic leading roles.
I was talking, wasn't I, Miss Dinsmore?
Yes.
Pierre, you shouldn't have come. Gee, this is dumb. Well, I can't make love to a bush.
To save their latest movie, Don and his best friend Cosmo, played by Donald O'Connor, come up with a solution involving aspiring actress Kathy Selden, played by Debbie Reynolds. What follows is a charming mix of romance, comedy, and some of the most memorable music numbers ever filmed. One thing that surprised me while revisiting the movie is just how funny it still is. A lot of older comedies can feel dated because humor evolves over time, but Singing in the Rain doesn't rely on references or trends. Instead, it focuses on character-based comedy and visual gags. The entire storyline about Hollywood struggling with the arrival of sound is packed with hilarious situations. Watching directors desperately try to figure out microphone placement. Watching actors suddenly realize they need actual vocal talent. Watching a silent film star completely collapse when audiences hear their voice for the first time. These jokes work because they're rooted in genuine historical changes that created naturally absurd situations. And Jean Hagen's performance as Lena Lamont is comedic perfection. Every line delivery is funny. Every expression lands. She steals nearly every scene she's in. It's the kind of performance that could easily become annoying in a lesser film. But Hagen's makes Lena both ridiculous and strangely lovable. Of course, a musical lives or dies by its songs, and Singing in the Rain has one of the strongest song collections in history. The title number remains iconic for a good reason.
I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain.
Everyone knows the image of Gene Kelly dancing through a rain-soaked street. But what makes the sequence so special isn't just the choreography. It's the joy. The scene perfectly captures the feeling of being so happy that you can't contain it. There is a sincerity to it that's infectious. Even if you've seen the clip 100 times, it's difficult to not smile. Then there's Good Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. We've talked the whole night through.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
A simple concept. 3 people singing and dancing around a room. Yet the energy is so infectious that it becomes unforgettable. And Make 'Em Laugh remains to be one of the most impressive comedic musical performances ever put on film.
Make 'em laugh. Don't you know everyone wants to laugh? My dad said be an actor, my son.
Donald O'Connor practically turns himself into a human cartoon. The physical comedy in that sequence is incredible. Even today, it looks exhausting. The movie is often held up to be one of the greatest dance films ever made. And honestly, it's hard to argue with that reputation. Gene Kelly was already one of Hollywood's greatest dancers, but Singing in the Rain showcases him at the absolute peak of his power. What's remarkable is how effortless everything appears. The choreography is incredibly complex, yet Kelly makes it look natural. The dances don't feel like interruptions to the story. They feel like emotional extensions to the characters. The movements tell the story just as effectively as the dialogue. And that's one of the reasons why these sequences still hold up today. They're not simply technical showcases. They're storytelling tools. A musical can have great songs and choreography, but if the cast lacks chemistry, the entire thing falls apart. Fortunately, that's not a problem here. Gene Kelly and Debbie Reynolds have genuine charm together. Their romance feels sweet without becoming overly sentimental. Meanwhile, Kelly and Donald O'Connor create one of the great friendship dynamics in movie musicals. The two bounce off each other perfectly. You believe they're lifelong friends. And because the relationship feels authentic, the audience becomes invested in what happens to these characters. One of the most impressive things about Singing in the Rain is how modern it feels. The pacing remains brisk. The jokes still land. The performances remain engaging. And the filmmaking itself is remarkably confident. The movie understands exactly what it wants to be. It's funny without becoming cynical, romantic without becoming cheesy, spectacular without becoming overwhelming. It's a film made with extraordinary craftsmanship, but it never feels like it's showing off. Instead, everything serves the audience's enjoyment. That's harder to achieve than it sounds. No movie is completely perfect, and while Singing in the Rain comes very close, there are a few minor criticisms worth mentioning. Some modern viewers might find portions of the romance somewhat predictable. The story follows a fairly familiar structure, especially by today's standards. There's also the lengthy Broadway melody sequence near the end.
I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain.
Gentlemen, stop that girl! That girl running up the aisle! Stop her! That's the girl whose voice you heard and loved tonight!
While visually impressive and beautifully choreographed, some viewers may feel that it slows the narrative, momentum, because it functions more as a showcase than a story-driven moment. That said, these issues are relatively small in the grand scheme of things. The film's strengths overwhelmingly outweigh the weaknesses. Singing in the Rain isn't just one of the greatest musicals ever made. It's one of the most entertaining movies ever made. It's funny, it's charming, it's visually dazzling, and it captures a sense of joy that many films spend their entire runtime trying and failing to achieve. More than 7 decades later, it still feels fresh, energetic, and endlessly rewatchable. Whether you're a lifelong fan of musicals or someone who normally avoids the genre, this is one classic that absolutely deserves its reputation. A joyful masterpiece and one of Hollywood's greatest achievements.
Well, I can't make love to a bush. Ta-tay-tee-to-too.
Short people have long faces, and long people have short faces. Big people have little humor, and little people have no humor at all.
Toes are roses. But Moses supposes erroneously. Moses, he knows us, his toes aren't roses. As Moses supposes his toes is to be.
Oh, excuse me. Where'd Miss Selden go?
She just grabbed her things and bolted. Anything I can do?
Sorry, I don't have time to find out.
Believe me, I don't like her half as much as I hate you. You reptile. I'd like to break every bone in your body.